Hey, and welcome back to the Game Engine series. I'm Tremor, and today we are going to implement the window class. We will move everything that belongs to GLFW into that class, and we will also implement a very basic user input processing. And without any further ado, we will start implementing because today's episode is supposed to be a pure coding episode. I'm going to put myself into the bottom right corner, and then we will start implementing our window class. First, we are going to create a new folder under source and Lucy, which we will name core. That will contain everything that is core to the engine. And we are going to create two new files, a file called window.cpp, and a file called window.h, which will be the corresponding header file. And in window.h, we are going to put the window class in the namespace Lucy as well. It's gonna get a constructor too. And let's not forget the visibility. And we are going to have a couple of attributes here. Going to have them as a uint16. First is called width, second is called height, which are the dimensions of the window. And then we have a title. And those types are not known because we didn't include the necessary C++ files. So let's do that. That's C std int. And then we also need a string. And let's include that in our main file. Lucy core window.h. And now at the very top of our main function, we will create a window object. Lucy window, let's just call it window. And we give it our dimensions we had before, which are 1600 by 900, so 16 to 9. And let's call it Lucy engine. What is he complaining about? Oh yeah, we did not yet parameterize the constructor. So let's just copy that, paste here width, paste again height, and then we just copy that thing, remove the underscore, and now we take these parameters and write them into our class variables and into our class members. And we should make a constref out of that to avoid copying the string. So now let's go back to the main file. Now the error is gone. Let's compile that. Let's see if it works. And that's fine. Now let's run it. Put a breakpoint here. And we have a window now with the members width, height, and title. And now we are going to move everything that belongs to GLFW in our main init function we had before into the window. And since I don't want to move it into the constructor because we can't really control when it's executed then, well, we can control it, but at some point the window will be part of another class. And then as soon as you create the object of that class, the window will also be created and the code will be executed, and I don't want that. So we are going to make a init function for the window. And it's going to return a GLFW window pointer. So we have to include GLFW here as well. We are also going to create a member variable of the type GLFW window pointer. We call it native window. Now let's create a definition of that function. We need the namespace here too. And we can remove that one here. We have to move the stuff from the main function. So we're just going to take everything that belongs to GLFW, that is all of that, and move it into, or we leave it here for now, and we just copy it. And we move that in here. So we need IO stream here for the outputs. So include IO stream. And let's try if that works. Let's just call the function in our main function. So we call window.init here. And I'm going to comment that out for now. Oh yeah, we need the GLFW window here too. So let's just create that. Let's compile and see if it works. Yeah, we have to return the window here as well. And we have to remove that one because this will override our class member. So this is going to be native window. This is going to be native window. And then we are going to return the native window as well. Let's see if it compiles now without a warning. That looks fine. So next up, we are going to change our old init function to init glad and update the call down here as well. And now we are going to remove everything that belongs to GLFW from this function. That is this. And now we change this to a Boolean value because we only want to know if glad was initialized successfully. We don't return a GLFW window here anymore. So that is going to return true. That is going to return false in case of glad not being initialized successfully. And now we have to remove these two calls here as well. And for that, we are going to make another function for the window, which will be called shutdown. Let's create the definition as well. We just paste the stuff in here that we cut from the main init function, and GLFW window has to be native window here. And this will be called right at the end of our main function, window.shutdown. So now we are going to comment that in again, and we don't need a variable here, but we need an if statement, which checks that the window was initialized successfully. If it was not successful, we will end our main function with a return code of 1. And we also have to check if GLFW was initialized successfully and if the window was created successfully. So we just check if this GLFW window variable is a null pointer, and we can just check that with that. So if this is not a valid pointer but a null pointer, this if branch will be triggered, and we return a 1 here as well. Let's see if that compiles. And that compiles. So there's one more thing to do. We will move the GLF viewport call from our old init function into our main function right after we successfully loaded glad. And now we don't want to have these values twice here, our window dimensions. So I will make 2 more functions here, and they will be called get width and get height. They of course also need a return type that will be uint16. Let's create both of those. And they just return width and height. And now we can get rid of these 2 static values here and just say window.get width and window get height. And now if we compile and run this, we should see our old red window. So nothing really changed. We just implemented the window class, a very basic window class. This will be expanded a lot in the future, but the code still does what it did before. So next up, I want to implement the game loop because I want to show you how we can receive user input using GLFW. So I'm going to create a while loop. And for the condition, we will be using a function called GLFW window should close. And it needs a parameter, and that is the window. So we just submit the window here. And we want to run the while loop as long as this is not true. But if we start the program now, we will see that we still can close the window via the close button. And that is because we are still not processing user events. And we are also not giving Windows time to interact with our own window because Windows needs to process its own user events. And one of them is that if we hover over the close button and then click it, we close the window. To implement that, we have to use another function, which is called GLFW poll events. And that one does just what I said before. It processes all the user events on our window, and it also gives our operating system time to do its own events on our GLFW window. So before we test that now, we have to remove that little hack here that I implemented to keep the window open. So we just remove that. And if we start our program now, we should see that we can close the window by using the close button. And before we end this episode, I want to implement one last thing. I want us to be able to close the window by using the escape key. So we are putting an if statement inside of our loop, and the condition here will be, we will use the function called GLFW getKey. It takes two parameters. First one is the window, GLFW window, and then we use an enumeration here, and it's called GLFW key escape. And if this function returns that the key was pressed, we are using another GLFW enumeration here, GLFW press. And if this is true, then we want to break the loop. Let's test that. If it works, we can close the window with the close button, and we can close it by pressing escape. There's one thing I forgot. We obviously have to move our draw call now into the loop, and we just put that between poll events and our key query. And this should still work. And now we can see that it loops forever. We can also drag the window over the screen now, and we can close it with escape. And that's it already for this episode. I'm going to put myself into camera full screen mode again. Thank you for watching. We have implemented our window class, which is one of the key foundations of our entire engine, and will be changed and expanded quite a bit in the future. In the next episode, we will do another coding episode. I'm not sure which topic I will pick, but since we drew quite a couple of components in our design iteration episode, I think I will find something there. Thanks again for watching. If you liked what you saw, then subscribe to the channel and like the video. And I'd say see you next time. Bye bye.